David, as you come on up, we should thank Barbara again and Jan and everyone, right, who helped last Thursday for the St. Patrick's Day party. But Barbara, thank you for the cooking. Yeah, the corned beef and cabbage. Did you eat some? You didn't eat it. She cooked it. She didn't eat it. I love it. Okay. Anyway, thank you again. Great job, David.
Good morning. Good morning. Are these all the chairs, Patrick, with $100?
$100.
If somebody's sitting there? Oh, everybody's so scared to sit. This guy's not afraid to sit in the front. That's great. Oh, I've got 3 things to talk about, so don't let me forget any of them. Appraisals, closing costs, and rates. Okay? Who's going to keep track? Somebody raise their hand. Tell me when I've hit all 3. Who's going?
I will.
Okay, oh, good. All right, appraisals. Real quick, you should know this by now, but if you're new to the business, we'll give you a little pass on this for not knowing. But even we had this happen the other day with a seasoned realtor. An appraisal came in low. There was something that the agent didn't like in it. Nobody likes a low appraisal, right? They called up and yelled at our loan officer. Why'd you use that appraiser? Why did pick somebody else? Who knows by now that that's impossible to do? We do not select the appraiser. Just raise your hand. I won't call on you. If you knew that already, okay, thank you. If your hands didn't go up, just so you know, we do not select the appraiser. It's a blind process. Nor does any other lender. It's against the law. We have to go through a blind process, go to an appraisal management company, pay with a credit card. They select the appraiser. We can't even talk to the appraiser, other than give them a copy of the contract. So just don't pick on the loan officer if you don't like the appraisal. It's nothing we can do about it. What was the second thing? No, that was the third thing. Closing costs. Who said that? Okay, I have no prize for you. So, sorry, Carrie. Oh, Carrie, I have to tell you something. I was watching some old London videos the other day. We might drag those out. We did some skits about 15 or 20 years ago. They were productivity skits. And there's many of those people are still working here. We're going to drag those out, I think. And Carrie was the star of one of those. Yeah, anyway, closing costs. There are a couple of categories of closing costs for investor properties versus owner-occupied. You can ask for more in closing costs on owner-occupied, up to 6% for FHA, unlimited on VA, but don't go for the moon because that hurts your chances of getting your offer accepted, and you really don't need necessarily all of that. So talk to the loan officer first before you ask for that. But keep in mind, if you're writing an offer on a corporate property, Fannie Mae, a bank-owned property, or even a short sale, they will probably limit that to what? 3%. So why ask for 6 on an REO property that you know is going to get countered to 3? Because you're just hurting your chances of getting the offer accepted. Okay, the other category, investment properties. Ask for 2%. That's the max, and I recommend you do that on just about every one, especially the smaller properties. If the property is under $100,000 with a low loan amount, it's kind of complicated to explain why, but every loan that is done, from investor to owner-occupied, from $30,000 loan to $3 million loan, has to pass through what are known as high-cost tests. There are 3 of them, at least 3 of them. There's a federal high-cost test, a state high-cost test, and then Fannie Mae applies their own. And guess what? They all use different standards. But what happens is, we get down to the end, the lender runs these tests on the loan, and they find out, oh, this doesn't meet the high-cost test. They're taking into account title, escrow, our fees, their fees, recording costs. There's a list of fees. Some of the Fannie Mae's list is like this, the state's list like this, the Fed is like that, and they're different percentages. Regardless, if we don't meet the high cost test, we run in jeopardy of not being able to do that loan, or somebody has to shave their fees. We've done that, lenders have done that, title companies have done that. It's really tough to get a title company these days to even reduce $50. But what happens if it doesn't meet the high cost test? It may be in jeopardy of not being able to close that loan. Therefore, ask for the 2% credit because that reduces those fees. It's a credit that is allowed to go against what those fees are, so it's more likely, much more likely actually to pass the high cost test. Okay, so what do you take away from that? Investor properties under $100,000, ask for how much? 2%. Great. Thank you. Okay, the third thing. Oh, rates. Okay, this just in. I want to read this to you because this is great. I get these emails every day. They're from a service we subscribe to, and it tells us what's going on in the bond market. That's really exciting stuff to most of you. Okay, you've heard me say this before. Thanks, Jan. Yeah. Appreciate it. Somebody's paying attention, and Jeff's back there getting it too. Okay. How about the gym? Jan. Okay. I don't know how much longer Jan's going to be working here. She's coordinating all this Mega Millions lotto thing, and you know when she hits it. I don't know. Are you going to show up the next day?
See ya.
Yeah, see ya. See ya. Oh boy. Okay. So you've heard me say this before. Interest rates do the opposite of what the bond market does. So if bonds are going up, interest rates go down. Bonds go down, interest rates go up. So here's a message I got this morning. After 4 days of losses, mortgage bonds are higher on news that the water supply in Japan has become contaminated by radiation. Does that sound crazy? Mortgage bonds are doing better because of something that happened on the other side of the planet. This has sparked a safe haven bid for bonds once again this morning. What that means is people are afraid of things happening. The Japanese stock market goes down. It filters around the world through Europe to America. So that's bad news for the stock market, which is good news for bonds. So you don't ever want to pray for anybody else's bad news, but it actually helps our interest rates. Also helping U.S. bonds overall are renewed concerns over the debt problems in Europe, with yields on short-term bonds in Ireland and Portugal surging to record levels. Okay, I'm going to change the words around a little bit, tell you how this will read tomorrow, okay? Could read tomorrow. Despite 4 days of losses, mortgage bonds are higher on news of the water supply, or after helping U.S. bonds overall, or renewed concerns over the debt problems. However, investors have shrugged this off and bonds are doing better. So they'll do just the opposite because of what something happens and you can't predict it. I guess what I'm saying is you cannot predict what rates are going to do. No matter how good you think you are, you hear something, your unemployment report comes out the first Friday of every month. And if it's a strong report, meaning more jobs were created, that's usually good for stocks and bad for bonds. But sometimes the opposite happens. So don't try to predict it. Just try to have your clients lock in. This recommendation, the last line here, and I'm almost done, Patrick. I had, how long today? Says, I feel prudent to continue with locking recommendations. Now, even though the bond market started out great, but guess what happened on my way in here to the office today? Something happened, don't know what it was, but bonds started getting worse, and they issued a recommendation to lock, instantly at that point. We get that all the time. It's a protection for our clients. So you know that we're watching the market. Again, nobody can predict tomorrow, but we can watch out for the next couple hours because that gives us a heads up to get a hold of our clients and say, we need to lock your loan right now. People don't mind so much if they miss the gain. They say they miss an improvement. Oh, shoot, why did I lock? Because rates got better the next day or the next week. But they really hate it when rates get worse and they weren't locked. So the advice right now in general, because of all the volatility in the world, is to lock. Last thing on rates, if you've been listening to the radio, TV, you hear commercials like this. They'll say rates with APRs in the 3s and low 4s. Anybody hear that? Right? And I stand up here and I'll say rates are the high 4s. What's the difference? I'm talking about 30-year fixed rates. They're talking about 10 and 15 years. Just yesterday I gave a quote for a 10-year loan in the high 3s and a 15-year loan in low 4s to an investor property. Now, investor rates are higher, so that's a pretty good deal. But I don't stand up here and say, I got rates in the high 3s and the low 4s, because that's not where the middle of the market is. Most of the market is looking at 30-year fixed for owner-occupied. So just be aware when you hear those commercials, it's not all it's cracked up to be. You just have to dig a little deeper and find out. Just bottom line, have your people contact Royal Charter for pre-qualification, and we'll take care of them and get the best rates possible. Thank you.
Here's the technical interpretation of what David just said. Buy now, right? That's it, right? It's true. I mean, no, it's good information, but we continue to have some people that say, well, I don't know, Cheryl, right? Well, what we do know is rates are low. Buy now. So thank you for the information. Okay.